can walk around here because we will be facing the webcam. If you come this side or that side, if you go.
Wait, what do I mean?
But you can present. All right. Only
So,
around
around
this area only you can walk. Present what? All right. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Women's Economic Forum 2016. We are starting with a session, what can women do individually and collectively to foster cross-cultural sensitivity and understanding? And the speakers are Charlene Macharia, Sonia Kripalaniji, Vardit Kaplan. There's one more, Margaret Hawley from UK. Okay, once again I welcome you all, and I'll hand over the mic to Charlene.
Thank you, everyone, for waking up early to come to this session. I welcome you all. My name is Charlene Macharia. I was born in Kenya, and then 10 years ago, when I was 16, I moved to California with my family, where I'm now living. I'm also a Gates Millennium Scholar. That's how I heard about this conference last year. So I came last year, and they also made me the chapter chair of the Santa Barbara chapter of All Ladies League. So I came back. Yes, I came back with a team of 3 other women from Santa Barbara just to get to experience this conference as well. So the topic is, what can women do individually and collectively to foster cross-cultural sensitivity and understanding? And for me, growing up in Kenya and also living in America, that was a topic that was really important for me. As an immigrant, as a young person, and the experiences that I experienced by myself and also with my family. So you can go on the next slide. So when tackling this issue, before thinking about crossing boundaries, I think you need to start with yourself. And before you want to understand someone else's culture, I feel like you need to be confident and start with your own culture. And that was the journey for me. When I was younger, okay, that's me when I was like 7 years old. And when I was younger, I was just really confident in my identity, and I got my identity from my family, from how my parents raised me, the values they gave me, from my spirituality, and just from being a kid and just being carefree. I was just really confident in who I was, and I also got a lot of my identity from just my relationship with God, because I saw God, He's my creator, He's the one who knows everything about me, so no one else I should not really care about what anyone else says. So I was just really confident in who I was. I was compassionate from what I learned from my family. And when it came, I was reserved as well, but when it came to speaking up on behalf of others, when I saw an injustice, I would speak up. I was fearless in that sense. But then over time, I started slowly listening to the voices of the world, which were just like, you're a woman, you're not meant to be speaking up, you're just meant to be silent, and just different voices just started coming in. I started allowing them into my life, and that really made me insecure in my identity. And I stopped speaking up as much. And before, it was not a problem. I would always participate in class. I would always be challenging things that I'm seeing, that I'm experiencing. When I saw people suffering or being treated unjustly, I would always be the person to stand up for them. But over time, when I started listening to other voices, my family, my values or my spirituality didn't become my guide. I started being guided by the voices of the world and society. So over time, I just became really insecure. I became depressed because of it, because if you're just depending on society to tell you who you are, you just end up like mindless and just depressed. You wouldn't be happy because you wouldn't be the full expression of who you are. So that's the state that I came in when I moved to America. I moved to America when I was just really insecure in my identity. I was broken in myself. And moving to a new culture in the middle of high school was really challenging. And being a Kenyan, coming to America, I thought like, okay, well, I can start afresh in a new country and I can be myself. But it was really difficult. And it was difficult making friends because of cultural differences. In Kenya, if you're a new person in school, they really welcome you and they want to make you feel welcome and they show you around, and until you make your own friends, everyone's really welcoming and hospitable. In America, so I came from a collectivistic culture, and America is more individualistic. So no one cares that you're a new person in school. I came into school, it's like I felt like invisible. That's how I felt being new to the country. I just felt invisible. But that was also fueled by my insecurities and my own identity. And so I was like, okay, whatever, I don't need friends, I'm just gonna focus on school. I ended up having a few friends though in high school, and most of them were like international students, because we kind of had a similar worldview. And then I got into UC Santa Barbara, and that's also a different culture. My high school was mostly made up of Latino students. There was a few Asian, a few white students, very few. I think me and like 2 other people were African. And then in college, it was a different demographic. It was mostly white, Caucasian students. And then, yeah, majority white. And then very few, I think 20% Latino, and then like 3% African American, and Asian, I think it was like 15%. So it was a different demographic and a different culture as well, like different cultures that I was getting into. And so I was observing all these things, but I was mostly just dealing with my own depression. I was like, okay, I could see a lot of things happening around me, and that was just my own experience coming into a new country, but my family as well, they also suffered. They also had a difficult time adjusting to the culture, my parents especially, and also my younger brother and sister. So anyway, so why I started with the slides, remember who you are. There's a quote that says, know who you are, where you're from, and where you're going. I went into college thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna do medicine. I just was focusing on school. And then my sophomore year, just things fell apart pretty much. And I started doing really bad in school, and that actually ended up being a blessing in disguise because it forced me to stop in my tracks and just reassess my whole life. And that's when I realized that I was alienated from okay. Anyway. Alienated from I didn't know anymore. And that affected my ability with interacting with others, with sharing my culture, sharing myself, loving others, because I was not loving myself. And so that year, I kind of gave up. Like, okay, whatever I've been doing hasn't been working for me. I need to just surrender, to just heal and to really know who I am. And that became a process. It was a spiritual journey that kind of took different forms. I changed my major to psychology. Through my psychology classes, I started learning about myself. I took cultural psychology, adolescent psychology, and it was forcing me to take a journey to my past and look at who I really was, look at my family history, to look at my childhood experiences that I was running away from that caused the depression I was in, and also find myself reconciling with myself, and that also was reconciling with God and my spiritual side that I was oppressing, I was silencing by just keeping silent. So, okay, identity, this is something I learned from my psychology class. One sense of belonging to an ethnic group and the part of one's thinking, perceptions, feelings, and behavior that is due to ethnic group membership. So we get a lot of our sense of identity from the people around us, how we were raised. That the whole nature, nurture, there are things that are genetic, but there's also things that are influenced by who's around us. You can go on the next slide. So that year, it became a really empowering year. I started using just different avenues to really heal and figure out who I was. And so I used creativity as a form of self-discovery. I was really depressed, so I started using creativity. For example, I started writing more. I started a blog. I started just writing my thoughts, and I realized I'm really passionate about a lot of things, and keeping silent was just harming me, but I actually had a lot to say about a lot of things. And I started a YouTube channel. My sister was like, oh, you should start a YouTube channel. And I started making videos that was projecting the world that I wanted to see, not what I was experiencing. And then also photography. These things just made me come to life and remember who I was and also express my own cultural identity. And then I also turned to education not as just a means to like get to finish college and get to more money and like the whole American dream, but I use it as a means to discover who I am and to heal. I changed my major to psychology, took classes that were teaching me about myself. I took Black Studies classes that were teaching me about the history of my people and even in a larger sense of American culture and the history of America and how I fit into that history. And I used education was really empowering me in that sense. Okay, go to the next slide. So, okay, those are just some pictures of my family. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, the next one. Okay. So I guess from that story, what I went through just really molded me and how I saw the importance of really knowing who you are and claiming and embracing your culture, I went on a natural journey. I used to have, my hair was chemically permed, and I went on a natural journey. I had back to my natural hair. So everything just changed. I just changed my perspective, and I became more confident in who I was and what I had to offer the world and creatively. And so from there, I started to share my passions. I started to share my interest, to share my culture through music, making Kenyan food, inviting people over, just sharing my culture in different ways and in ways that were fun and liberating for me as well. And then the next thing, just connecting with others, like, okay, yeah, sharing my culture, and then it became, I started making Kenyan food a lot, and then they're like, oh, maybe I'll make my cultural food, and then we'll have like a multicultural potluck, and it just brought different cultures together through food, through music. I'd share my music, and then they would share their music, we'd have a dance party with different music. So just using music and the arts as a platform to really connect and to bring cross-cultural understanding. And then right now I'm doing a master's in education, and for my thesis, that's the topic I am researching, which is the power of music and the arts in changing education and society. So I feel like education can be a really powerful tool in connecting cultures, and also music and the arts as well. And so for my research, there's a program that just started last year called Ala Vista First Fridays program. In Santa Barbara, there was a tragedy that happened 2 years ago, and there was a student who ended up killing 6 other students and ended up killing himself as well. And that was just one of the violent activities that happened in that college town. And so I thought violence is really spurred on by not understanding each other's differences, not understanding each other's culture, and thinking the other is the enemy. So there's a professor at UCSB called Kim Yasuda. She started this program every first Friday of the month. She brought out people from different cultures to display their culture through music, through arts, performing, and also through having different food. So each month had a different theme. One time it was focused on women from different cultures. The next month was from the African American